Innovation Unplugged from the Alabama Community College System's Innovation Center takes you inside Alabama's workforce development. Join us for enlightening conversations with community leaders and industry experts showcasing experiences, addressing key issues, and celebrating successes in the workforce initiatives across the state.
Welcome back, everybody. We are excited to be here today for Innovation Unplugged, and I'm Brandi Merrill, Director of Curriculum Design, and we have Kailah Dozier, our Director of Marketing, and we have a fabulous guest with us today. So I'm going to bounce it to her and let her introduce herself to our listeners.
Awesome. Hi, I'm Mary Jackson. I am the Director of Community and Professional Development with the Alabama League of Municipalities. So this position kind of morphed into a director position. When I first started here in July of 2021, they brought me on to be the education coordinator, and that basically dispatches and recruits speakers to come speak at our events. Our two big events is the annual convention, usually in May, and then our other big event is our Municipal Leadership Institute in the fall. Awesome. So we have two big events, and they ask us, they needed me to come in and help find speakers that bring relevant content to our mayors and council people. So it kind of helps bring them a tool to put in their toolbox to take back with them to City Hall. And then the other position was the Alabama Communities of Excellence Program Coordinator. And the Alabama Community of Excellence is a 20-year-old program that needed to find a new place for support. And we had 43 communities, and the league took over this program in 2021. And it was to basically, it was like a one-man show, but now that it's under the league, we have the graphic designer helping, the communications director helping with press releases, and then I help coordinate all of the different aspects that the Alabama Communities of Excellence does to help strengthen, grow, and prosper our smaller communities, which are the 2,000 to 18,000 population range.
Wow. So, that is a big job, Mary.
It is, yeah. So there's, now that the director position has come into play, I still have the ACE program. I'm still helping as the education coordinator and finding speakers. And then we've added the Certified Municipal Officials program, which is where we're bringing you guys in to help us with the online training. And then the Economic Development Academy is a new program. It's been in existence for 3 years, and I'm going to help facilitate with that. And Brian Parker, who was our Director of Governmental Affairs, he's still going to carry the torch and speak and help our communities learn about economic development.
There we go. Wow. That is a lot. Y'all have a lot going on. Your role is big too.
Yeah.
And it sounds great. Like it's grown.
Keeping me busy.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. I kind of did a little snooping, I'll have to be honest. So I don't think you're from here. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are, and then like what brought you to the League of Municipalities?
Right. Yeah. So everybody will say that you're not from around here. You're not from around these neck of the woods, and they're correct. So my dad is originally from Alabama. And he grew up in Mountain Brook area, Birmingham area, and he decided that he wanted to move out to Colorado right after he graduated college. And so he went out with some buddies, and he settled in Colorado. And my mom, we're native Denverites. So my great-grandparents came over from Ireland. Then my grandparents are from Denver, my mom, and then my sister and I. So I was born and raised in Denver. And then when I turned 30 in 2011 was when I moved down to Alabama. My parents retired to Evergreen, and there's a 1899 family house in Evergreen. And so my parents, it's been in our family since 1903. So my parents bought the family members out, and they retired to Evergreen. So my sister then followed suit and moved to Evergreen. And then I was kind of out in Colorado, and I say I was orphaned out in Colorado, and people act like that's a bad thing. No, it wasn't. It was just tough to travel from Denver to Evergreen, Alabama for holidays. So picked up and moved to Tuscaloosa in 2011 and settled there, and have been here ever since. So I love it. The only thing that I regret was taking for granted that I did live in Colorado, and I did hike some, but I wish I would have done more. And so that was one thing that when I moved to Alabama was that I wasn't going to have that same regret. So, I've done a lot here, and within this position with the League of Municipalities, I've been able to see a lot of the state, and it is an incredible state. And there is so much that Alabama offers, not only to its citizens but tourists. And so it's just been so neat to see the mountains to the beach. And my grandfather always said, this was God's country, that you get the best of both worlds. You get the mountains, you get the beach, and you get everything in between. And so I couldn't agree more that it's God's country. It's a beautiful, beautiful state.
Absolutely.
And so anyway, so to go back, before I came to the league, I was a city clerk for almost 10 years. And so Greg and Kailah, I'd known them before I came here, and they recruited me to come here while I was a city clerk. And so I've been in the belly of the beast. I've done city elections. I've helped our mayor and council members when they come to the helm of the council chambers, like how to do council meetings, how to handle the day-to-day operations of city hall and city government. And so I guess I was kind of bred into it, though. Both my parents worked for the state of Colorado. And so I grew up in a government type setting, family setting. And so it's one of the most worthwhile positions you can have, is to work for a government.
True
You
service.
get to understand.
Yeah. True service industry.
You get to understand like where and how important it is to pay, pay your taxes and what those go towards. It goes towards repaving the streets that you drive on. It goes towards sidewalks and walking on the sidewalks. Sales tax goes towards your police and fire protection. The mowing the grass out in the parks. And so it's really neat to understand where those monies go towards and how it really supports your community and how important it is to contribute in those facets.
That was awesome. That was really, really good. I think we often take that for granted, that people kind of understand that people who are in city work or mayors or council people just automatically kind of know what to do. And so I love hearing that perspective. That kind of lends to my next question, but that, sometimes they don't know. And it takes somebody there, who's been there to kind of shepherd them and guide them and say, here's how you run a meeting. Here's how you do this. Here's how you make a purchase. Here's what this is, intended to do or whatever. I think that's awesome, coming from a family of service, to state government, and then now you're city government. So were you city clerking in Tuscaloosa? Is that where they recruited you from?
Oh, well, actually, I worked for the graduate school in Tuscaloosa.
Okay.
So I was there, and I helped recruit students from all over the Southeast to come to Alabama's graduate school.
Yeah.
And I never would have thought 10 years later that I would actually be graduating from Alabama's graduate school. So this past May, I graduated from University of Alabama's graduate school. So
congratulations.
it was pretty awesome. Hey, thanks.
Full circle.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, full circle. It was neat. And I thought some people at graduation that I worked with, but no, so I worked in Tuscaloosa as senior admissions counselor. And then my sister introduced me to my daughter's father. And so that's what me down to Evergreen. And then Evergreen recruited me to be their city clerk. So I lived in Evergreen for a little bit, and then I was in Monroeville for about 6 years and was their city clerk. And I loved Monroeville. Monroeville has great history. It has a tourist attraction, right? The old historic courthouse that Harper Lee based her book To Kill a Mockingbird from.
Yeah.
And so we had, we had people coming in from all over the world to Monroeville, and that's where it was a healthy stream of revenue for tourism in Monroeville. And then Greg and Kailah recruited me in 21, and then we moved up here to Montgomery. So we're in Pike Road. My daughter and I are in Pike Road, and and then I met my soon to be husband up here.
Really?
I was going to ask
So,
about that at the conference last week, but we didn't have an opportunity. But that's so exciting.
thank you. Yeah, we got engaged in
Congratulations.
June, and then we're going to get married on December 7th.
Oh my
So
gosh, that
Woo!
is right around the corner.
it is. It is.
Wow.
So, he works for the sheriff's office and captain of investigations, and he's just wonderful. He's a great cook, and my daughter loves to
Oh,
cook, so
that's
they're
good.
always in the kitchen. And his stepdaughter or his daughter loves to cook too. So and he loves going on adventures too here in Alabama. So
What a
he said
story,
there's
Mary. Oh, I love it. That's
yeah,
such a happy ending, you know,
yeah,
just to
it's been
that.
great.
Yeah, just to that path of, where you started from in Colorado all the way to here and now finding, the love of your life. So that's a sweet story. I love it.
You.
Uh,
So with the League of Municipalities, tell me a little bit or tell our listeners, because I'm not sure when I first started if I really understood what is the role of the league. What do they do? We've seen the building in downtown Montgomery and know it's a thread, it's a cord of how things work, in
Right.
all of our cities and all of our towns. But tell us what the Alabama League of Municipalities does.
Right. So we've been around since 1935, and the league was formed to basically advocate for our municipalities with the legislature, with state government, to
Hmm.
help them understand that the municipalities and local governments really are the foundation for our economy. So it starts at a local level and then it just ripples out, right? It gets bigger and bigger. And so when you help focus on what municipalities need, where we live, work, and play, then when the legislature, a state organization, makes policies and makes things that impact our municipalities, we're here to advocate for our mayors and council people. We're here to say, no, our police jurisdictions need revenue, so don't try and make our police jurisdiction smaller. Like, that actually helps support our police and fire departments. It helps that sales tax in our police jurisdictions help support our local governments. And so the league really has been successful in advocating for our smaller communities and our bigger communities. And so we have 465 municipalities within the state of
Wow.
Alabama. And a good majority of those are rural communities. So they have populations under 50,000. And so the league is here to strengthen those communities, but also support them. And if there's any legislative policies that come in, we advocate for or against, and how that will impact our small cities and our big cities. So it's been impactful for almost 90 years.
Wow.
And so it helps give voice to those communities and those cities.
I love that. We all need support. So it sounds like y'all are a huge, support to those
Mhm.
communities and those municipalities. So I know that y'all were just talking off camera a minute ago or before we started about your large conference, and that's where I think y'all met, right?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what that conference was that you just came from, and what you do, and that kind of thing.
Absolutely. So the Municipal Leadership Institute is one of our big fall conferences, and this really helps build professional development for our mayors and council people. So it helps give them, like I said, tools for their toolbox to
Yeah.
take back with them to City Hall. It helps give them that professional development, like how to be a good leader in your community, how to recognize like if there's conflict, how to handle conflict, how to navigate through conflict. And so what we built this last session for the agenda was elections. So next year, 2025, we're going to have a big city election across the state, or most communities are going to have a big city election. And so we talked about the federal election, but then one of the big sessions was municipal elections. And so city elections are usually in August. We got it off the presidential year, but now we've got it into, off that year. And next year will be the big city elections. And so we'll have mayors and council people either run again, or they're going to jump off and let someone else come in and So anyway, so city elections. And then the Alabama strategic plan was what we had on Friday. And that is the new initiative that the governor, Ellen McNair with the Made in Alabama group, and Greg Barker with the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama. So it's this big, and it's called Catalyst, and it's a big plan that the governor wants to see through to help support not only the state, but drill it down and help our local economies with economic development and so forth. And so we had them on the panel on Friday to talk about that and how our local governments can help support the big state plan, but what they can do to implement it in their communities. And then the final presentation, which I learned about from when I'm in the Community Development Institute at the University of Alabama. And it was Donnie Jones. He came in from West Alabama Works, and he talked about workforce development and how you can support workforce in your local communities and what you need to have in place in order to, one, retain your citizens, but also celebrate, the students that graduate from high school and don't really feel like college or, four-year university is for them, and what you need to do to recruit them to go to a local community college to get a skill or a trade, or an associate's degree, and then make sure that they stay in that community and utilize that workforce locally. And that helps, in turn, recruit industry and recruit new economic development and recruit more jobs. And so it helps. Like I keep going back to that ripple effect, when you take care of your core, everything else just kind of expands out from there.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think that's what we hope that we're supporting, that ripple effect, every day, in the trainings that we're building and doing. So I want to ask a little bit about how we came to be partners on this new project that we're working on. So if you can kind of tell us a little bit about how we met and what we're working on together.
Absolutely. So the Certified Municipal Official Program, it just celebrated its 30 years. And we've had some online training before, but now that we've seen how well you guys have supported us in the Economic Development Academy and just supported our municipalities, we're excited to come in and have you guys help us with that online platform. So when I first started, I thought of the member services area where I work and the Certified Municipal Officials Program as an actual institute, as a university.
Yeah.
And that we're the registrars, we get them registered, and we have this training, we have this online platform that they can use. And so why not work with a great program? I mean, you guys are located throughout the state. And so I know our locality or our local governments, they know of the community college system in their areas. And it's accessible. Two, the online training, they can go to the local community college if they don't have good internet at home, and they can come use your, a computer there to get their online training. It's so, it folds in perfectly that you guys are throughout the state. You have great locations. You have great schools that support the citizens in those communities. So why not have this online platform for our mayors and our council people to use? And I mean, and then I love the idea of the credentialing part of it, that not only can they do online training for their professional or for their local elected official position, but then they can take that and use it for an associate's degree, for a certificate, for, to help improve their skills, not only within their elected official role, but a professional role too. It's a perfect fit for everyone.
We agree.
I also wanted to kind of paint the picture of how this, and Mayor Jackson, you probably know, but for our audience, of how all of this has transpired over the last 3 years. So originally, Brian Parker was, the headship of the Economic Development Academy, and he kind of came to Chris Cox at that time before he went to Shelton as president, and I was just being onboarded, and they were like, "Hey, Kailah, we have this project. The ALM wants facilities to host all the mayors and council men and women across the state, and we just need facilities for them." And so as that unfolded, it became where Kailah got involved as far as event management. And at that point, basically regionally, all of these mayors had a place to go to a local college to just sit in and listen on the teachings that Neil Wade, who's a big economic developer here in Alabama, along with Brian Parker and the local president, would welcome them to campus. And a lot of the times that could have been the first time that a mayor stepped foot on their local community college campus. And so as each year has unfolded, you guys have added more regions or kind of gotten more strategic with the locations of where they are, and that program has really gotten traction. And so I think Chancellor Baker last year spoke at the graduation ceremony, which I think really brought home that partnership between the community college system and the league. And so now, a year later, we are able, not only that you guys have seen facilities across the state, but also been able to experience through your local municipalities some of the skills for success courses that are offered within the local communities. And now asking us to partner with you to develop and enhance and magnify what you guys are already offering to the state. And so I wanted to paint that picture that that is what the local college system-wide, statewide is for, to fill in those gaps and to make a way for our citizens, and in this situation, our mayors in every part of the state, have access to training to make their communities better. And so obviously community college is in our name. And so anyway, I'm just listening to all of these things unfold, and I'm like, hey, what a partnership and what a model that we're able to experience because we're the boots on the ground, but also how impactful that is going to be moving forward for even new mayors. Even at this conference, I've been going the last 3 years, and I see some of the same faces, and they hug my neck and they say hello and how are you? But then you have new people that you are like, wait, you weren't here last year. What community are you from? And they're a little bit hesitant because I think, when you have, I don't know how many vendors, probably 60 vendors in that area, just bombarding and telling them around every corner, here's a new resource, here's something that you can implement within your community. And you can just kind of see like the overwhelming look on their face because they may be a team of 3 or 4. But it is so rewarding when we get to share our story with them, and you kind of see a little bit of like a sigh of relief of, okay, these are the steps I need to take. But I'm just excited to see as we move forward the next level of that partnership and truly building those relationships within those communities. So I just wanted to paint that picture so that everyone hears like this is what it looks like for 2 government agencies to love on each other and serve the state.
Yeah. And I don't know
that
if
was
you,
perfect.
yeah, I don't know if you know this or not, but you're one of the first professional development courses that the Innovation Center is producing. So,
That's awesome.
I know. And so Kailah was talking about the skills for success. And of course, that's our brand. That's our model. That was, those are all of our courses that even almost all the municipalities are using in one way, shape, form or another, to train folks, whether they're current or not. But so the skills for success model is out there, but a new kind of branch or spoke that we are engaging in now is our professional development. And that is a huge collaboration with you guys. And so y'all are one of the first Definitely, for sure.
Fantastic.
In building, some governmental training, that helps to
Right.
support, and like Kailah was saying, just love on each other. What are your needs, and
Yeah,
how can we help you to help the people that you're serving? So huge
absolutely.
collaboration. So tell us a little bit about what drove the need for that training, that you guys came to us and said, "Hey, can y'all help us build this out?" Like what drove that training? I think maybe there was legislation behind it, something like that.
Right, right. So there is a new piece of legislation that is mandating that our local officials have this training. And I think in turn, it not only helps them, but it helps the citizens and the
Mm,
accountability of, hey, my mayor and council are getting the required training to lead our community forward and to be accountable for them taking that elected official position. And so the Training Act requires that they have 40 basic credit hours within their 4-year term in office. And it gives them the foundational elements to do their jobs well as elected officials. So it gives them, what are the mayor and council's duties um, in a city. And then it gives them like budgeting, the Open Meetings Act, which
mhm.
is a very important act to know, that you don't have secret meetings, that you don't have meetings behind closed doors, that it gives that openness, the public
Transparency.
and
Yeah.
right, right. And so they're public records, understanding what you can and can't give out as a public record. How to spend municipal funds. That's another important thing, that you can't use it for personal gain, or, that
Mhm.
you've got municipal funds out there that's supposed to be poured back into the community to help improve your roads, improve your infrastructure. Um, so it gives them all those foundational elements to do their job well
Yeah.
as an elected official, as a mayor, as a council member. And because it's like learning a completely new language. And if brand new to it and you just kind of understand the surface level elements of civic work, then yeah, it could be cumbersome and like drinking from a fire hose when you first come into an elected official position. So this your training, the online training, they can do anywhere. They can do it anytime. If they feel like on a Saturday morning they really want to dive into the duties of a mayor and council member, they can. And so it's
Mm.
that perfect fit of they can access this information and access this online training at their leisure. If they work a normal 40-hour week or 40-hour job, 40-hour week job, um, sorry, that they can come in on a Saturday morning and learn more about their elected official role. Most of our elected officials are part-time. So they do it, they 2 meetings a month. They field calls from their citizens, throughout their not only their full-time job, but also their council elected official job. So this just gives them that training that they need to do their jobs well, which in turn makes their community a better place.
Yeah, I think people, I wouldn't have known anyway that, you come into a role like that, and it's almost like you've got to onboard somebody to say, "Hey, look, this is how you do this, and be careful," because it is
Mhm.
government, and you've got to be sure to follow the rules and everything. So I loved kind of digging into what you guys have already, and then allowing us to kind of take it and morph it and make it, into this interactive and kind of cool learning experience for them. But I think it's neat that it makes it almost like human for us anyway. You think of an elected official probably already just knows these things. That's probably not the case. Is what I'm hearing you say, is that, these folks
Right.
are working a job already and they don't necessarily know these things. And here's our role. And then here's what we've asked for y'all to do. So I think that was a good backstory to that.
Does the
Absolutely.
Training Act require, is it yearly that an elected official or a mayor has to take this training, or is it a one and done once they've started their term?
So we definitely want them, to come to the convention and the
Right.
fall conference And so what I believe it's 10 hours a year. So
Okay.
40 hours, get them to that 40 hours. But we
Okay.
also have like, an advanced level of training and then the emeritus. And so those are people that go to all the training. They've done the online training portion of it, and then they come to the in-person training. They serve on boards, they serve on committees, they go to the National League of City conferences, which is, a bigger conference, and it brings all of the leagues and all of the cities from across the nation together. So we have the different tiered levels. So basic, advanced, emeritus, and then there's tiered levels in the emeritus program. So the in-person training, which are our conferences and any other external conferences and committees and boards. So there's a plethora of training out there, but the online training, I think, is so that they don't have to travel anywhere, which is an additional expense on the city's budget. But they can do the online training at their leisure.
Yeah.
So it gives them the best of both worlds.
There's so many hours they have to get, but they can choose at whatever level they are in their status to suffice yearly those hours. Okay.
Yeah, and we'll
Makes
do an
sense.
orientation next year after they get elected. So like I said, the elections are in August, and then October and November we do an orientation conference for them to come in and do the onboarding. And then this is the way for us to reiterate that we have this excellent online training platform for them to learn more and to get those required hours as needed for the Mandatory Training Act.
I love that. I kind of want to go back to something you said. It's been sitting in my mind, Kailah, just how neat it is for listeners. And then obviously, just general public people to know, yeah, government really does work together. It's not, hey, we're from the government, we're here to help. Yeah, I mean, like, really, we are trying to support and help each other so that then, whatever agency it is or whatever entity it is, that they can turn around and support the people in their communities. I mean, ultimately, that's what we build skills for success courses for, is to support those industries that come and say, hey, we're in need, of employees, and we need training. We need people to be trained to hire them. And so we build these courses and then we basically hand them off to the community colleges for them to go and flourish and fly and train and do all those great things. And then we move on, to the next thing. And that's what's so cool about this, is because we're kind of used to the cadence of development for the skills for success courses. And so it's so neat to kind of take off on that different path. So the Innovation Center, is our entity in essence. But it's so neat to get to see this additional path and us to be able to support something that you all do that then turns around and supports those communities. I mean, hardcore boots on the ground in the community. It's a cool collaborative effort. And I think it would be neat for those and for us to be able to tell that story. And this is one way, but for us to be able to tell that story of like, look, we do work together, it's a cool process.
Well, it helps it when everybody works together, it only makes things better. And it moves communities forwards, and it helps, like when they take your courses online, they have that knowledge that they can then use and make their community better. And it's just a win-win for everyone.
So, Mary Jackson, I'm going to put you on the spot here for just a second. Okay. But as you were describing your history, as a city clerk and then as an admissions counselor and then now working for ALM, and you're literally every day submerged in this training world and providing these things for our state. So there's a lot out there that everyone can get their hands on. But as you literally listen to the humans that are saying, Mary Jackson, I need help with this, or this training is great, but practically I need help here. What other gaps are there that we might not be able to address today, but it's something that could be, on our brain to continue to support you guys with. Maybe that's training. That's the world that we live in. But, we're also connected to 23 colleges that can help serve our local municipalities. And so I'm putting you on the spot, but are there things that come to mind that you're like, hey, we're still struggling in this area, or this has been something on the league's mind, we just haven't been able to really put our hands on it and make it happen? Because we make that offer all the time to everyone, so you would be no different. But are there any gaps that we can help fill or help partner with you guys on?
Absolutely. So, well, the number one, we send out a survey after every conference that says, hey, what are some training topics that you all want to know about and learn about at the next conference or online training? And the number one thing is grants.
Okay.
And I think that our council people and our mayors have probably is writing a grant.
Sure.
Successfully, getting a grant, sifting through it all, making it sound like this is what the grant money is going to be used for and why it's important to their community, and writing from the heart. And so I think that as a skill, grant writing skill would be helpful. And I mean, everybody, is like if you have part-time mayors and part-time council people, they've got their full-time jobs, or, and it's just trying to find those skills to help them get set up for success and help them, write a grant. And how do I write a grant? And I think like that number one question throughout a lot of training is, well, how do I do that? How do I write a grant? How do I get a grant? How do I repair my roads? How, the action question, how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so it's trying to make sure that we have those resources available to get them to that point, to get them to the finish line and across the finish line to write a successful grant, get that grant money, and then make their community better with those funds. I mean, I think a lot of them look for more revenue streams. How do I find more revenue to help finish this paving project or get the water and sewer lines repaired? And so it's that how question. And it kind of, it reminds me of when I went to the career fair at my daughter's school in 4th grade. So Pike Road Intermediate had this career fair, and they had an opening for a politician or a local leader booth. And so I wrote this, I did this big 3-panel poster board. And the kids were so cute. They were like, well, what do I need to, skills do I need to have in order to be a mayor, or in order to run for council, or in order to be a president? And so it kind of made me step back and be like, okay, well, you need to be able to read. You need to have good math skills because you're going to need to balance a budget. You're going to need to write well because you're going to be the mayor of a community. You're going to need to be able to build a relationship and write a good email and follow up. And you need to have good communication skills. And so it's like stepping back and speaking to a 4th grader about what skills did they need in order to be a mayor or a council member. And so I think those building blocks we're already putting there, but maybe there might be some more like just basic skills, writing skills, math skills, communicate, being a good communicator, conflict management, I think is always a big one. And just building relationship skills. So it was, I guess, like personally looking at, what would my daughter need to have, good grades in order to be successful if she wanted to be a mayor of a community? What skills does she need to move her forward through in school to attain those?
Love that. It's like those basic building blocks of life, except for a mayor, and I can imagine that, most mayors are really relationship driven people, I mean, they can pretty much talk to anybody. It's the technical stuff, I'm sure, like you say, like the grant writing and the, the paperwork processing and that kind of stuff.
Budgeting.
Yes. All of those things. It's kind of like, that comes with the job too, and those aren't necessarily things that you're familiar with or know, or, have even seen before. You're a problem solver. If you're a mayor or a city councilman, or woman, how to solve a problem. That's how you got in that role. And then it becomes, well, all the paperwork on the side, I need to figure that out too. So I could see that being a need and a potential plug-in on our part at some point.
No, I'm glad you said, it's interesting that you brought up grants because I'm going to give her a little plug. Councilwoman Simmons from Florence, she and I go back a couple years. We were on we were part of the Women's Policy Institute with the Women's Foundation of Alabama, and she came up to the table last week and we kind of locked eyes and she said, "How do I know you?" And so we made that connection again. And so I asked her, I said, "How is your bridge coming along?" Because 2 years ago, she was working on a grant to rebuild a bridge that connects Florence to another part of the community. And I'm not familiar with all of North Alabama, but basically she was painting this picture that because this bridge was not repaired, that whole community was not thriving. That, the restaurants had closed and hotels that people typically would stop there for on their way to Athens was no longer. And so she was like, my job is to advocate for this community because there are people there that have grown up there that love this area but are leaving because it's dying. And so I fully, going about my daily life, I don't think about bridges that aren't, that are literally cutting off a community. And so just the passion within her eyes and just her touch of just hugging me and saying, "Hey, Kailah, like, yes, we're still working on getting that bridge fixed," and that, she is relying on grants for that funding. And so she's fabulous and she knows what she's doing, but at the same time, she is still advocating for that. And so I think that is, a really big need. So thank you for sharing that, but also wanted to give her a little plug because she was sharing with everyone that, hey, like, this is a problem and I want to fix this for my community. And that's the councilwoman that you want advocating for you and your community. But grants were a big thing that were on her heart too last week.
Right. Yeah. In graduate school, I did a paper on like motivations and why people run for office. And so it was how we could organically grow, recruit more women to be in local government and in leadership elected official roles. And that was one piece of research that I found, is that there's motivating factors for anyone to go into a political office. They want something better for their community. And so they dip their toes in the political waters and, they just want to make a difference. They want to, and one of my other papers was leave it better than they found it. And so as long as our elected officials maintain that motivation and that this isn't for them, it's for their community and their people, that they are trying to make it better than they found it. That's the primary motivator for, why most of them want to, go into elected official roles, is just to do something better.
And we want to arm them with everything that they need to make that happen.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of made me think, like, that's honestly, that's what leads to almost the last question of every time we talk to somebody of what's next. Like 3 years from now, Mary Jackson, you're going to look back on time. So they will leave it better than they found it. So 3 years from now, you're going to look back and Mary Jackson's going to have done what to leave it better than you found it. So what do you see 3 years from now? What will you have done to leave it better than you found it?
I want it to go bigger, right? So I not only want this to be for our mayors and council people, but as a former city clerk and appointed official, I want training available for them too. So I want, because that was one of the things when I was president of the Clerks Association, is that we wanted our certifications to matter too. So we wanted our certifications to be able to be applied towards an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, to have those credits expand.
Sure.
And so to have, be able to have a business degree, and those credits that we've attained over 6 years to get that certification as a municipal clerk, have that mean something with a college, have it mean something to have a degree behind it. And so kind of expand that and offer this training to anyone in a government role. The other thing is to recruit our youth to understand local government better, to understand why it's important to be involved in your community. And that was another research thing that I did, is that our youth just feel completely disconnected from our mayors and council people, from our governor, from it just kind of, it gets the disconnect gets larger between any elected official, whether on a local level, a state level, or a national level. And so the research I found is that we need to go to where they are. They understand the importance of a soup kitchen, but they don't understand the importance of a policy that affects their healthcare.
Sure.
And so and that was one thing, okay, so go meet them where they're at. Go to the soup kitchens and talk with them and find out what they need. Go to a career center or career fair at the school and talk to them about the importance of making a difference in your community. And so that research was so impactful that we need to engage our youth, because they are our future. Like, we need to talk with them about what they want to see in our communities and what we can do to help them stay in our communities, because if we don't, they're going to go to the places that they feel supported and heard and valued. So that would be another thing, is do a lot more within our schools to educate them on mayors and council people and what that role means. So even if it's just like municipal government 101 for high school students, what.
There we go.
I was about to say that's
Yeah.
a career
Right there.
exploration title right there.
Right,
My
here we go.
realtor shirt
These are
on.
the skills you need to be a mayor. These are the skills
Yeah.
you need to be a governor. These
Yeah.
are the skills you need to be a president. Like, just stuff like that, just kind of encouraging people to wake up and say, oh, I could do that. I
Yeah.
could be a mayor and I can make a difference in my community. So you organically grow local leaders.
Yeah. And a lot of people want to serve. They just don't know how to get involved to serve. It's
Right.
that,
They think
that
there's
call to action
tension.
kind of thing. Like, I think I know, but I don't know how. Like you just, like you were
Right.
saying a minute ago, like, I can do it. I just don't know how yet, And so I think that would be a great,
Right.
a great next step.
We're all about pathways.
Absolutely.
So as you're talking of, generating that interest and then giving someone the skills, and then, okay, but you basically for 6 years work-based learning, like you should get credit for that. Like that's not revolutionary. That is something that needs to happen. And so if those conversations are not being facilitated, I say that we can help support that and bring those things to those decision makers, I think, at our level. But I think that that's a beautiful picture of what it could potentially look like in the next 3 years, and what a platform you have to make strides in making that happen. So thank you for casting that vision.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you.
Okay. All right. So Kailah's going to take us out. We call it the outro. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Mary Jackson, for joining us today on another episode of Innovation Unplugged. Please go like, subscribe, and follow on all social media platforms. We'll see you next time.